Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mr. Hicks Podcast. We're here getting it in once again, time and time again. So, I did a show about the Super Bowl with my wonderful Eagles, as you can see, won a championship. And I got one comment, and it was, this was really late. Why did you bother even doing this? We've heard all this stuff already. So, to that one commenter, you were right, and it was really late. So, I have decided that I'm doing a show every Tuesday and Friday. So I used to do shows when I felt like doing a show, or did a show when I felt like I had a good idea, and I would do a show. But I don't think anybody really gets better when you do it that way. You have to have some consistency, and there's a lot of times when people who do this don't feel like doing it, don't have a particularly good idea. You still got to show up, and you still got to do your show. So I'm doing shows every Tuesday and Friday because that's the schedule that I decided to do. And thank you for the comment, and just so you know, if you're going to do a show, not all the comments are going to be good ones. They're not all going to be nice ones, but everything is feedback. And you're going to have to suck it up, Buttercup, because there's a lot of stuff out there for content for people to watch. And if yours isn't good, then you're going to be told about it. And being told that your show sucks is better than nobody watching your show. So I'll take that. Thank you very much. So this show is about FOMO and fear of missing out. The main one, I think, when it comes up to the NFL draft, which is coming up soon, we got the combines coming up this week, people are afraid of missing out on quarterbacks. So nobody wants to be the one that didn't draft Josh Allen because he went to a small school. There was reasons not to draft Josh Allen. He had all the tools, but you just hadn't seen him do the type of things that you want a quarterback to do, even at the highest level in college. So when you're thinking he's going from an FCS program in Wyoming going all the way to the NFL, it was kind of a stretch, even though you were kind of liking what you saw about some of the film and his size and all of that. It was totally understandable for people to I don't do this from Wyoming and playing quarterback. I don't know. Nobody wants to be the one that didn't take Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is a multiple-time MVP, multiple-time Pro Bowler, comes from Louisville, not a traditionally big-time football program. He was thin. Nobody knew how fast he really was. Yes, he was really talented, but just weren't sure if that particular style of game was going to be successful in the NFL. Teams passed on him. He ends up blowing up. So you don't want to be the one that doesn't take the quarterback because you're afraid you're going to miss out on a gem. So then you overdraft a quarterback and he ends up being a bust. I am going to look into this a little further because I'm flabbergasted how there are not more great quarterbacks coming out of college. But when it seems to be the quarterback play in high school has become a lot better than it's been in years. When I was a kid, you ran the ball almost all the time. You threw the ball maybe a handful of times. Now quarterbacks are slinging the ball all over the place, playing 7-on-7 all summer. And then you go to college, and then a place like Ohio State is like, we don't know who the quarterback's going to be. Or Michigan is like, they're like desperate for quarterbacks. And then when you get to go from the college to the NFL, they are also desperate for quarterbacks. But it seems like half the league is always looking for a quarterback, and I just don't know how that is, considering that the training has gotten so good at the high school level with the high school coaching and the training. It feels like that would filter up and make more NFL quarterbacks, but it doesn't seem to be happening that way. So as you know, Jalen Hurts was the quarterback of the Super Bowl. He was the MVP. But Jalen Hurts is not a first-round pick. He was a high second-round pick. But he wasn't a first-round pick. And he was actually drafted in the same draft as Patrick Mahomes. Maybe it was Josh Allen. Hold on. Joe Burrow. He was in the same draft as Joe Burrow. So I was interested to see in my research to figure out what kind of show I was going to do. What are the playoff wins of the active quarterbacks in the NFL? So number one, of course, is Patrick Mahomes. Aaron Rodgers is on his last legs, but he's got 12. Joe Flacco has 10. Russell Wilson 9. Josh Allen 7. And Jalen Hurts has 6. So Jalen Hurts hasn't been in the league very often. He's already got 6 with 2 Super Bowl appearances and 1 Super Bowl win. And then just below him is Joe Burrow with 5, and he has 1 Super Bowl appearance. After that, the numbers are actually staggering. But the idea to me that Lamar Jackson, for all the success that he's had, only has 3 playoff wins. That's kind of wild. It's fact. It is what it is. But man, All right, so that kind of stood out to me though. So I'm like, of these guys, who were first round picks? Who were the guys that really, because they were drafted, made the team that drafted them better and got playoff wins and got their teams to Super Bowls? Obviously, not very many for Super Bowls, but at least got their team's playoff wins. Because I'm of the mind that drafting a quarterback just because you quote unquote need a quarterback might not be the best move. Not because you're afraid about missing out on a quarterback, but drafting the wrong one puts you at such a disadvantage going forward because you have to play that guy because he was a first round pick. You have to surround him with weapons. You have to get him a receiver. You have to get him protection. You got to get him a running game because you are trying to support this quarterback that you drafted and put all the eggs in this basket, and then he still might not work out. So I wanted to take a look at this and say, so at 2020, first rounders, you had Joe Burrow, Tua, Herbert, and Love. So, and then Hurts in that same year was a second round pick. So, of those teams, I think you can say that all of those teams are better organizations or better on the football field because of the quarterback that got drafted. I think Tua is spectacular? I don't, but I think he's pretty good for the system that he's in. Love took a little longer Jordan Love took a little longer to develop. Joe Burrow was great right away. He set all kinds of records this year. And Jalen Hurts, two Super Bowl appearances, one championship. Then you go to 2021. So 2021, you have Trevor Lawrence. He was a great college quarterback, but it remains to be seen what he is as an NFL quarterback. Jack Wilson, bust. Trey Lance, bust. Justin Fields remains to be seen, but pretty much a bust. And Mac Jones, pretty much a bust. So within 2 years, and this is what happens, quarterbacks kind of catch fire, and then everybody's like, oh, we need a quarterback. Let's draft one in the first round. Bunch of them coming out. Majority of them are busts. Like, the majority of them are busts. 2022 was a historically bad. It was so bad I couldn't believe these were the actual numbers. Like, the first quarterback taken in the 2022 draft was Kenny Pickett by the Steelers, and that was at pick 18. I'm like, that must have been a horrible quarterback draft. And it was, because the next quarterback taken was Desmond Ridder out of Cincinnati in the third round at pick 74. That's a whole draft without quarterbacks. Both of those guys, neither one of them starters. Moving on, 2023, Bryce Young, not so hot. CJ Stroud had an awesome freshman campaign or rookie campaign. Anthony Richardson, I didn't understand that when it happened. But that goes to show you how bad an organization the Colts is. And then Will Levis, he is a starter. I don't think anybody's particularly excited about him. And the Tennessee Titans are probably looking to upgrade and draft a quarterback this year. So that goes to tell you a lot about where he is right now. And that team is still pretty bad. It's still only a year, so it's kind of hard to say like they haven't been able to turn that franchise around when they got drafted. CJ Stroud actually did. Like, they were extremely bad, and then they almost made the AFC Championship game in 1 year. So you could say, like, CJ Stroud, lightning in a freaking bottle, man. Like, basically 1 year and amazing. Obviously, that this year and that year, the second quarterback taken ended up having a better year. I do want to go back real quick and talk about how many of the quarterbacks in the 2021 classes are not even either out of the league and not even on the team that drafted them. So for 3 years later, or 4 years later, Trevor Lawrence is still on that team, got paid. Not really sure that he really is worth that. Zach Wilson is no longer on that team. Not even sure if he's backing up. Trey Lance is a backup for Cowboys. Justin Fields is maybe a backup for the Steelers. We don't really know. And Mac Jones, I have no idea where Mac Jones is. Within 3 years, the majority of the quarterbacks that got drafted in the first round are nowhere to be found as a starting quarterback. How are we this bad at this? How are NFL GMs, how are scouts, how are they this bad at looking at that and going, yeah, that's a franchise quarterback? How? You do this for, how? You do this for a living. And you took Zach Wilson in the first round. Trey Lance. And you know what the Trey Lance thing is really funny. You know who you blame for Trey Lance? You got to blame Love and Allen, because that was the trend at the time. It was these, hey, we're going to sneak in and get a dude from an FCS program that no one ever heard of, and we're going to make him our starter quarterback, and he's going to be the next Josh Allen. Just like Love was going to be the next Josh. I want to say he was from North Dakota State, and then Trey Lance, I think, was also from North Dakota State. Great programs, but lightning in a bottle from those programs, probably not. And in Trey Lance's case, definitely not. So, and then you got 2024, Caleb Williams, running for his life, but Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, phenomenal season. I mean, he's in the same division as the Eagles. Well, what would you say? The Redskins, when I grew up with, now the Commanders, is historically a very good franchise. To watch that kid do what he did in one season was really something to behold. He was a skinny kid. He did win a Heisman coming out of college. Had a lot of dissenters and a lot of naysayers when he was coming out of Arizona State, when he transferred from Arizona State to LSU. Had amazing receivers and Neighbors and Smith. And you're like, oh, is he really that dude? Yeah, he really is that dude. And the sky is the limit for that kid. I think he is going to surpass Jalen Hurts as far as probably the best quarterback in the division ability-wise. Will the Redskins surround him with the type of talent to really be contenders for a championship? I don't know. But, yeah, he scares me to death. That kid is really special. After Jaden Daniels, we got Drake May, starter, Michael Penix, meh. J.J. McCarthy got injured, and Bo Nix is starter. So they're getting the opportunities early, if you draft them early. And the thing I'm seeing the most here, the common thread here, is bad franchises drafting quarterbacks early is just a recipe for disaster. You don't have the infrastructure to support these guys. So you're taking a kid early in the first round, and then he's not supported. He doesn't have a running game. He doesn't have great blocking. Probably doesn't have great receivers because you didn't think about taking receivers. Everybody, if you're starting with the quarterback, I think you're really setting that quarterback up for failure. Unless you've got a generational, absolutely no doubt dude, and we don't get those very often. If you're really hurting as a football franchise, I wouldn't go young quarterback. I wouldn't do it because you can't really support him. There's no point in, if you're, like for me, like if you're the Jets, for example. If the Jets had a high draft pick this year, there's not a quarterback that can really change that franchise. So don't take one. Just don't. Because if you take him, you're going to have to try to surround him with things that you don't have, and you're not good at finding players in later rounds in order to turn your franchise around. That was a major thing that I'm seeing as a theme of very good organizations, is that they nail the first round picks and then they get value in the second, third, and fourth round. I'm an Eagles fan. The Eagles are nailing the first round picks. Except for the Jalen Reagor thing a couple of years ago when they should have taken Justin Jefferson. Howie's one big mistake that I think he probably sleeps with a picture of Justin Jefferson by his bed, just to remind him of that. Don't get caught slipping, dude. You're really not that nice. You could definitely. Is he nice? Yes, he is. But I know the successful people tend to really take the losses much harder than they do celebrate the wins. And when you get those like one that got away type situation, that always wears on people, especially people that are like, I just second guessed myself and I tried to be smarter than everybody else and tried to outthink the room. And I should have just taken the big player with the speed from the big program. And that's what he's done since. He's taken players from Georgia. He's taken players from Alabama. Now he's augmenting them with players from Iowa and Texas Tech and stuff like that. But the bulk of those players that he's taking to build his roster, he's building them with players from big-time programs. Notice this year, when they took, you know what, I'm not going to get into this. I want to do this on a different show. I'm not going to get into that. So stick with the thing I was saying. Don't draft a quarterback. If you don't have the infrastructure, if you don't have the coaching, if you don't have the offensive line to protect that dude, you're just going to get him murdered. And I think the organization that probably did this best, oddly enough, was the Chiefs. Because if you remember, the Chiefs were not very good. They brought in Alex Smith. Alex Smith gave him kind of a ceiling as far as how far they could go, but he was there to be a mentor. He knew that. It was toward the end of his career. And they drafted players on the line. They drafted players to build a franchise front to back. And then when they had the chance, they moved up and they got Patrick Mahomes. I think that's really the best way to do it, is to go, listen, if there's not a Peyton Manning or a Matthew Stafford or an absolute 100% no doubt Cam Newton level dude, take the left tackle. Take the pass rusher. Take the corner. Just build the team around other players. Because honestly, you could get everything else right and then end up winning Super Bowls with a Jalen Hurts that you get in the second round. Because he's a smart kid. He's a tough kid. He makes good decisions at the line of scrimmage. Is he exactly does he put up the numbers that you'd like, the guarding numbers you'd like to see? No, but he wins. He makes the good decisions that he needs to, and he uses the players at his disposal very well. Not everybody does that, and we have one that does. I appreciate Howie. I appreciate the way that he built this organization, and because I know so many other teams are really bad at this and are really not good at the things that he is good at, I know that he's going to continue to fleece bad teams to get their players to augment our rosters. He's going to continue to kill it in the draft because he always does. He's going to continue to just get a great lineman in the first round because he always does. And because I think other teams try to outthink the room. Howie got burned with that first one with Jalen Reagor and Justin Jefferson. I don't think he's ever going to make that mistake again. My nightmare would be if I just wake up and somebody pays Howie Roseman like $20 million to be their GM. I've said this before. I will literally lay in his driveway and not let him drive out if that happens. So FOMO, fear of missing out for the quarterbacks. You're not missing out because even if you get a good one, you're not going to be able to take advantage of everything he can do anyway. So build front to back, just like the Eagles did, just like the Chiefs did, just like real good organizations do. Maybe you'll get back in, but no point in taking a dude that you can't support. That's my time. Take it easy.